right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the In Between the Sticks podcast. This is actually going to be our first in-person pod here with the boys. This is Kale alongside my buddy Austin and Drew over there. We're excited to be doing this in person. We hope that it's going to turn out well, and we'll continue to put these out. It's been a minute. We got a few things to talk about. I think we last left off with the news of the firing of Rand Carthon and kind of our thoughts about that, and then what that was going to look like with Chad Brinker seemingly being the guy now. But then they hosted a thorough but very quick GM search, and we have landed upon Mike Borgonzi from the Chiefs, assistant GM, which I think we're all going to be in agreement that we really like this pickup, along with a couple other guys that we've got. So there's still a ton of questions on the hierarchy of our organization. They seem to be playing it off a little bit, so I don't know y'all's thoughts on that. But, I mean, just in general, my first impression is I love it. Like, if you're going to pick somebody that comes from winning, I mean, it's nobody better than this guy. Like, he's seen it for the last 10 years.
That's true.
So
16 he's been there. 16 years.
Yeah, he was with he was the assistant GM to the Chiefs for the last 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
It was total.
Yeah. But he's been with the Chiefs 16 years.
Yeah, I know he was a scout for a while, and then like the last 4 years he was the assistant GM.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, as soon as he got hired, you know, the GM of the Chiefs immediately said, like, I knew this was coming eventually. Like, he's amazing. So like, I mean, that's all you need to know.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
the Chiefs are obviously the best team in the league, give or take. Best ran team, maybe you could say. And for the GM of that team to say this guy is that good, I mean, that should give you a glimpse of a little bit of a bright future. It seems like. I will take a step back though and say that I think the last episode we made, we reacted a little harshly. I think the media reacted a little harshly to the firing of Rand Carthon. But I think it's because it felt like he was putting us in the right direction. And it felt like he was the person that we needed in the room. And it felt like he had full trust from everybody, even the fans. And then it just kind of caught everybody off guard. Because after the season ended, it was like, oh, Callahan might go.
Yeah.
Not Rand. Like, Rand wasn't even being talked about. So it just kind of caught everybody off guard. So, but I'm happy with the hires so far. So.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Chiefs. I mean, you know, now that we're recording this, going to their third straight Super Bowl. And, you know, like we said with Borgonzi being there, you know, all these years, he's helped form that roster to what they have on there.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying, you know, that he's had every little finger in who they, you know, choose, whatnot. But one massive thing that you have to take account on when you look at the Chiefs is that most of the players that they have there are homegrown talents, right? They've built that team through the draft. And it's one thing that Borgonzi has come out and said that he wants to do here at the Tennessee is draft, develop, and then pay, right? So that is really exciting to me, just obviously coming from a team like that, having that much success. And one thing I think also is very important is how much he's talked about collaborating with Andy Reid and seeing what Andy wants. And say what you want about the Chiefs, man. I mean, how good Patrick Mahomes is, all that good stuff, but to me, they aren't nothing without Andy Reid. I mean, that dude can scheme up anybody to get open every single play. He knows exactly who he needs to have on his team, and it's been evident. So I'm very excited for it. I know we have some other hires we're going to talk about that are also going to, I think, massively help improve us and definitely allow us to win more than 3 games.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one thing to – you know, just look at what the Chiefs have done over these years. And don't get me wrong, I think there were some other good candidates that we went through. I mean, I think we even had the Packers, one guy from the Packers, and then that Brinker had already known, but then obviously somebody else from the Bills. And both of those organizations are in a pretty good place as far as, you know, young, talented QB that has the ship sailing in the right direction. But then, of course, obviously, you look at the Bills and the Chiefs, and they're kind of at the pinnacle of what everybody wants to be right now in the AFC, at least.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so just knowing that Brinker and Amy were going after people like that are program builders, a program you say in college, but organization builders. I mean, apparently this guy, Mike Borgonzi, came in with like a 200-plus page, like, manifesto on how to reroute and change our franchise. I mean, like, if anybody knows anything, it's this guy. Like, he was there when the Chiefs were going 2-14, and now Patrick Mahomes has been to 7 straight AFC Championship games.
7 straight
It's
AFC
one thing. I
championship
watched
games.
a show with Amy Wells on there where they her and Mike normally do their interviews
Yeah.
with coaches and stuff. It was like a 12-minute interview. I'm guessing it was the day that he got hired.
Yeah, I think so.
Where she brought that up about the book, and she asked him, like, have you thought about, this day coming where you're going to be interviewing for potential GM spots? And he was like, yeah. He's like, for the last, probably like 5 to 7 years, it's been on his mind. But he was talking about how everything that he's done throughout his career, whatever he's done, he's documented to show, like, hey, this is what I did while I was here in this position, and this is obviously you can go back and look at the results that have driven that. So I think that was part of what that book was just showing, hey, here's everything that I've ever done. And obviously coming from the Chiefs, I mean, they were, like we said, 16. He's been there 16 plus years. They were a 2-win team with the number 1 pick, just, not even probably 15 years ago or around there. So he's seen it all. He's been there where they were terrible. He's been there when they were, sort of rebuilding and having bridge players come in. And then obviously there whenever they're drafting these players and having the success. So I think that's something he's definitely going to bring here. And another big thing is Brinker knew this guy, said he's known him for 9+ years. And I think a lot of the things, if you look at all of our GM candidates, Brinker has had some form of relationship with them from where he's been previously or other teams that he's been in trade talks with or whatever. He's known all of these people, and they all kind of had the same similar background in scouting, whether that be college scouting or pro scouting. So
See, that was the thing that excites me the most is every team obviously wants to build through the draft. Every new GM says that we want to build through the draft. We want to draft. But the difference is talent, like evaluation and talent acquisition through the draft, which is why everyone was so high on Rand Carthon, because he had a track record of being able to find people in the draft that, in those later rounds, being able to find guys that turn into playmakers. And like that's what the Chiefs have done right there. I mean, you think about it, Chris Jones was a 2nd-round draft pick, I'm pretty sure. Trent McDuffie, he was
I'm
a
pretty
first-time
sure
pick.
was Pacheco not late?
Pacheco was late. Tyreek Hill was a 5th-round pick. George Karlaftis looks like an all-pro out there, and he was a later-round pick.
drafted Snead.
Trey Smith
Was
at
Bolton,
right guard.
Did Bolton get drafted?
Nick Bolton was, I think he was a higher pick. He was like 2nd round, I think.
Okay.
But Trey Smith was like a 6th-round draft pick, and he's an all-pro right guard. Like there's a difference. There's levels to it, and it's easier to hit on your 1st and 2nd-round picks every year based on what you need. It's harder to get in those later picks and turn these guys into playmakers and potential starters eventually, which is what he's bringing to the table. He's bringing a track record of finding these gems in these late rounds and just making them into people.
And whether it was his direct fingerprints on the whole Mahomes thing or not, he was there. He was part of that talent evaluation process of Patrick Mahomes, and has been a part of, seeing Patrick Mahomes lead a franchise for the last 7 or 8 years. And so, like, there's nobody better to be in the position to lead our organization and find that next guy, whether it is Cam Ward, whether it is Shedeur Sanders, whatever the case might be, or finding a free agent. I don't know. And we'll get into that a little bit here soon. But I would not prefer anybody else be in that situation. And I'm not going to completely blame Rand for Levis. I mean, Levis was one of those picks that, we took a risk on, I think. Like it
Traded
wasn't,
up for him.
We traded up for him, and you could see that there were some flashes there, but just me personally, I don't see the same flashes from Levis that I do see in both Shedeur and Cam Ward. Like, it's just a different, like, Levis showed times where he could be this. To me, Cam Ward has proved more just because of the competition he's seen and so forth, but they both really have shown that what they can do under pressure, when the pocket's collapsing, decision-making, timing. And these are the things that Callahan and Borgonzi have both just said this week that they're looking for. I think they're down there at the the Shrine Bowl and now the Senior Bowl.
Definitely.
And so I don't know. For me, I'm just like, there's nobody better to be kind of leading the ship, along with Reggie McKenzie, who's going to be who has been in. He will be for us a senior scouting role, right?
Scout.
And has been, a GM in some cases. Dave Ziegler is another guy that's been a GM and has scouting experience. And then you also bring in, because we finally let go of Colt Anderson, you bring in Bones Fossil, they call him.
The war is over, Titans fans. Colt Anderson is out.
So
Finally,
Bones, was it
goodness.
John? Is it John?
John
Bones Fassel was the special teams coordinator for the Cowboys, has been for a while, and they were at the very least top 15 and everything, but they were mostly top 5 in special teams categories.
Yeah, so I obviously it's a great hire. I think
He's been called the greatest of his types of coaches.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know-
in the league, he's considered like the best special teams
Yeah.
coordinator. So
I think Tic Tac has alluded to it. Easton Freeze even alluded to it in the interview with Callahan, that from a fan base perspective, you didn't really see it. But as a team perspective, the last couple, probably like 3-4-ish games of the season, the special teams are actually a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that it was so bad early on where it doesn't matter.
Yep.
And I think that writing was on the wall.
I mean, if you thought he didn't deserve to be fired after he should have been fired halfway through the season.
Yeah.
With how pitiful the special teams was, and like here's the thing, we're not just talking punt. Like the punt team was terrible, but it's not just the punt team. It was the punt return team. It was the kick team. It was the kick return team. It was we were getting punts blocked. We were just all around just terrible. I mean, it wasn't just like it was one thing we couldn't figure out. It was we had so many. Every time we went on the field for a kick or a punt or a kickoff, you didn't know what was going to happen. Like
You were worried that we were going to get it blocked or that they were going to run something back.
Yeah, you were expecting the worst.
Dude,
every
I
time.
would have hated to be Stonehouse coming off of that.
100%.
Coming off of that injury, and Callahan even alluded to it, that early on, whenever we had those couple plays of pump blocks and that kind of stuff, that was just mismatching. They just had bigger guys on smaller guys that we had up there that we didn't have, the right guys up there and whatnot. And he talked about Stonehouse. He said, his injury really is kind of like a 2-year injury where you come back that first year and it's the physical aspect of it, but you also have to have that same year of getting over the mental side of it. To where, and especially with the struggles that we had early on, I couldn't even imagine.
Oh,
It
and
ruined
with the dudes coming after you like that every single punt, like
Pause.
knowing they have a chance to block your kick every single time. I feel like I'd have butterfingers. I'd be dropping the ball. Like I wouldn't be able to get the
Well, that's why he was
the punt
kicking it.
off.
That's why he was kicking it so early. He was terrified because
Mm-hmm.
Jack Gibbons and everybody on the line was just letting everybody through. I mean,
And then
it
on
was-
top of that,
it was free reign.
the other team catches the ball and we can't seem to tackle them or
Yeah,
anything at
that-
all.
Yeah,
So it's just it's going to be better.
it's gonna be.
That's what that means. When we get this guy, it's going to be better. And that's the biggest thing for me, because obviously there's not a ton to talk about yet, just because we're kind of getting into the flow of a new coaching staff, figuring out what this team's going to want under Brinker and Borgonzi. But what I'm hearing is, and what I'm seeing is that they're bringing in guys with an eye for talent. They really are.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we said earlier. They are.
It sounds crazy to say that, but it's like we haven't had that.
Yeah,
You can-
we haven't. That's the
you
bad
can
part.
tell that our main focus is going to go from building this team through the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely you see teams that can acquire most of their roster via free agency and it works out.
It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
You're supposed to. I love the way Marcus Freeman says it, because he looks at recruiting the same way. He's like, we have to build this through recruiting, and then you supplement with.
That's literally the words
smaller
they've said.
needs. You supplement it with
Borgonzi
free
is his
agency,
literally,
or in college
portal.
terms, you say the transfer portal. But that's what it is.
Yep.
It's the same way in baseball. Almost every sport, you have to build something and have a foundation, and you can add pieces to it throughout your journey. But you can't just build an entire team through free agency.
Well,
I mean,
it's a money aspect to it.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
The cap space exists. You can't go out there and
we're
load
not a
up all
huge market
pros.
team, and
Yeah,
this
exactly.
league
Especially
is
that.
this league is also not baseball. Like
Nope, it's not baseball.
there's no team that can do that.
Nope.
The way that money goes around, like the way you have to pay quarterbacks and wide receivers, you don't have. It's not like you can just revamp your lineup in baseball.
and that's also to round your point out with that too. Like with the way that we are being technically a small market team,
Mm-hmm.
even though Nashville is one of the biggest cities, I would argue, in the U.S.
It's growing every
and growing every
It's
year.
bad.
But
It's not a good thing.
In the
It's not a
sports
good thing.
in the sports market world, we are a small market team compared to some of these others.
Yeah.
Which means when you do have, and I think that is part of, we might have said it last week, but I'll retouch on it. I think that is part of why you saw what happened with Rand, is that we're a small market team. We came into a year where we were top 10, I believe, in cap space that we were able to use. And granted, like we said in the last pod, every free agent that he brought in wasn't a bad signing. A couple of them, bad stuff happened. You got injuries, whatever. You can't really control that. But with the amount of money that he took from Amy gave to him and said, "Here, go spend it," because it's like Tic Tac even alluded to it. He said, "I bet you that Rand went in there and said, 'Hey, Amy, if you give me this money to use, I will bring in people and we will win in games. We will win games." And we won 3 games. And I think he had also Chad Blinker sitting there in her ear saying, "I don't know about that."
Yeah.
Right? Because it's the thing, like basically the point I'm getting to is we're a small market team. And if you're going to bring in free agents and you're going to spend money in free agencies, it's almost like a draft pick. You have to nail that free agency.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
but I don't even think it's that too. Not to cut you off, but I think part of it is that you brought guys in like Calvin Ridley, who props to Calvin because he still ended up with basically 1,000 yards and how whatever stats he did, while basically not contributing at all the first 3 or 4 weeks because of completely and inconsistent is not even the best word, but inconsistent quarterback play, bad, mediocre, whatever you want to call it. Like, look, we all wanted to be on the Levis train. We're all pretty much off of that right now. Like, I'm glad he's going to work with Jordan Palmer
For 2 months.
Who's like the QB guru right now for a couple months in California, and that's great. Like, I'm all for him trying to get better, but to me, he is not the guy starting next year. So it's just like, I forgot where I was going with that, but it's just, it's hard to say like boom or bust with Calvin and those guys, because it's like if you put a better quarterback for Calvin, we might have been looking at 1,200 to 1,500 yards. I mean, he got almost 1,000 yards basically with
5
terrible
games
quarterback
off.
play.
5 games off basically too.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive, really.
That's why it was hard.
And Pollard was phenomenal.
Pollard was a monster. That's why it was hard to judge Brian Callahan year 1, because the quarterback position was so unbelievably bad.
Yeah.
That what were you supposed to do? And let's just, and we've said it many times. Quarterback was bad. Offensive line was bad. Wide receivers were bad. You can't judge a guy off that. But here's what I will say now. I'm going to tell you now that Will Levis isn't the guy. And I'll tell you now that the reason I'm telling you that is look at what Brian Callahan said 2 or 3 days ago whenever he was asking about Will Levis. And he ripped him a new one. But do you want to know why?
He practically said that we want everything that is the opposite of what Will Levis has done.
Because, again, it's all schematics here. It's scheme. Levis doesn't fit the scheme Callahan's wanting to run, which, again, we drafted Levis under Mike Vrabel when he was head coach, and whenever we went to Callahan and we changed our offense up, Levis couldn't pick up on it. And you can tell because when Rand was there, Callahan was like, Levis is improving. Like, we're trying to improve him every week. Now that Rand's not there, I mean, and Brinker's up there, and we got the new GM, Borgonzi, Callahan's just letting him have it. He's like, yeah, he sucks. He's not good. He's just not a good quarterback. He doesn't process reads fast enough. He's just not that great. So
because
that tells you everything you need to know.
It's not a 1-2 read.
Yep. It's
like
not.
We had Derrick Henry, and you gotta use, he's the bell cow or whatever you want to call it, the workhorse. And so we did that, and when Derrick was successful, what worked for our quarterbacks, even Ryan Tannehill, because Ryan Tannehill was phenomenal in the play action for the most part until we got to the postseason and forgot how to play football. But the Tennessee Titans with Tim Kelly, with Todd Downing, with all of those guys under the Vrabel regime, we ran give the freaking ball to Derrick Henry, and then we're going to kill them with play action pass.
Yep.
That's what worked, and that could work with Levis, but that is not what we're doing now.
No, it's
like we've seen through Tic Tac Titans, film reviews. There's plenty of opportunity in this offense from Callahan, and I think that's a big reason why he wasn't tied along with Rand and got fired. I say props to Amy for that, because it would have sucked to have to go through getting a new GM and a new head coach again. But I will say I think the thing that sucks for Callahan is that because of the way that Amy has tended to make decisions, he's probably immediately on the hot seat week 1 this coming year.
He was already on the hot seat.
He's probably on the hot seat right now before the
draft. I was
draft.
about to say before the season ended, he was on the hot seat. But this is what I'll say about Callahan. It's like you just said. If you watch film reviews, if you watch people that deliberately show video evidence and video proof of how our offense ran last year, and you see wide open people all over the field, and you just see your quarterback not hit them, that is not a coaching problem.
Yeah.
That is a quarterback problem. When you have Tyler Boyd and Ridley and Chig and these wide receivers open, and the quarterback is not hitting them, that is a quarterback problem, and not a coaching problem.
I don't want to hear that it's still a coaching problem because Levis isn't executing. Okay, well, I hear you.
You can't do it
but at
for
the
him.
same time, he's drawing up the plays that are working.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can't play for the player.
You can't.
Exactly. Like he probably wishes he could, because there were a lot of videos. Because Tic Tac Titans, shout out Tyler Rowland, did a video every single week of showing the film breakdown, and you saw every single freaking week people open and them just
and
it wasn't just Levis.
Yeah, I was about to say
it wasn't just
Rudolph.
Levis. Like it was Rudolph as well. Like we're just missing. They're either missing them or they're waiting too long, and then they're covered by the time they throw it to them. So it was just like there was no winning. It didn't matter who was in the game. There was no winning. You weren't going to win games.
And if you listen to him talk about Joe Burrow, obviously he had a phenomenal experience with Joe Burrow. And if you listen to him talk about that, yes, Joe Burrow is otherworldly talented, like some of these other QBs in the AFC and the NFC. But like Joe knows. It's one of those things where it's like you don't want to like Ryan Tannehill used to predetermine his throws. Like, there were times where he'd throw picks, and you're like, well, geez, he just stared at his first read the whole time.
First play of the AFC Championship game.
Yes.
Awful.
But here's the thing. Joe Burrow, he does the same thing in a different way. Joe knows where he's going before the snap.
Because he knows how to read a coverage.
But if it's not there, he's still reading it.
Yeah.
He can pick a defense apart. Bro should have been the MVP this year, except their defense was cheeks. That's why I had to steal Notre Dame's defensive coordinator.
It's also like with Joe, too, like, you think of Joe Burrow, he doesn't have that much mobility, and it's the same thing.
Well, he is elite in the pocket.
This is what I'm bringing up, because it's the
saying.
same thing I say with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
is that you think of these guys, and they're not Lamar, they're not Jake Daniels, right? They have the ability to know. They have the mobility to where they can extend out of the pocket and make a play happen when there was nothing there, compared to Will, where he got under pressure, he wanted to. Instead of running out of the pocket, he wanted to stand and run up into the pocket into a guard gap where he's going to get tackled.
I mean, how many times were we stepping up into a play action throw? Except we're not stepping up, we're stepping sideways, or we're stepping directly into wherever the pressure's coming from.
You remember he had that big drifting problem?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Like he drifted all year. Where he's supposed to be stationary in the pocket. Poor Latham. I mean, Latham gave up more sacks than what, he was supposed to, because Levis would just drift.
It's a blind
into Latham.
stat.
He would literally just drift into the back of Latham, and it's a free sack for the end. The end didn't even have to do anything.
Well, and I hate to be that guy, but I will be, because if you go back and look, I mean, we're talking about one of the least athletic quarterbacks ever, but arguably the best quarterback ever in Tom Brady. He wasn't going to get out and just put the burners on, but bro could be mobile.
But it's also different, though, bro, because these quarterbacks. I agree with Austin what he's saying. It's not a coaching problem; it's a quarterback problem. Because you look at Tom, and obviously, I know comparing Tom Brady to Will Levis sounds insane. I'm just talking about.
But we compare it to Tom Brady because that's the bar.
It's nothing. It's nothing physical. It's all mental.
Absolutely.
Tom Brady didn't have a throw. He isn't going to sit there and try to escape and get like a 3-yard run. He's going to get enough room to where he is not going to get flagged for intentional grounding. He's throwing it at a receiver's feet, or he's throwing it out of bounds.
You rarely saw, especially in the later years of his career, when obviously his body was not at peak performance, but his brain was. I mean, that's how LeBron is now. Granted, LeBron's still freakishly athletic, but the way that he sees the floor is so different now compared to 15, 20 years ago, and that's what happens. Every decision that he makes, like Tom Brady was one of those quarterbacks, when he reared back to throw it, you're not sitting here thinking, this is a pick.
Yep.
Sometimes you thought that with Tannehill. A lot of times you think that with Levis. Like I'll get nervous when he'd rear back to throw it.
Yeah, because it was double coverage.
You don't feel that with Mahomes.
No.
You don't feel that with Burrow. With any of these guys that are top of the line right now.
Well, do you want to know why quarterbacks don't work out? The reason the quarterback position is so hit or miss is because physical attributes have nothing to do with the position. Look at players like Joe Milton. Look at players like all these other players that, like, I mean, physically, they're the most physically gifted players in the world.
Yep.
They can throw the ball 70 yards. They can run out the pocket. They can scramble. It's a mental game. For the quarterback position, it's how fast you can decipher information and how fast you can pick out what the defense is running and go to the dead spot in the defense.
Yep.
Like, for instance, if the defense is running cover 3, you know that corner routes get open. You know that, like, maybe some underneath stuff gets open. But you know that a streak is not going to get open.
And you always, because people make fun of Tom Brady for dinking and dumping, but you always know where you're.
Yeah, you always
I mean,
know.
dude, that's just how
when
you stay ahead,
So
bro.
when the ball snaps and you see what the safeties are doing, or you see what the defense is giving you, that split second, like, mind you only got, what's the average time to throw? Like 3.5 seconds, 4 seconds?
Not even that.
Yeah, I think
Like,
it's more like
you
2.5,
don't
3.
got long. You got just
Yeah.
a couple seconds to see what they're doing and then turn and throw. So, like,
Yeah, because
it is
most
hard.
teams do post snap
Yep.
and rotate into a different coverage than what they show pre snap.
And that's where, like I just said, like I think you think about Burrow, and I remember the very first pod that me and Roller did, talking about when Brian got hired. One of the stats I mentioned was when he was there with the Bengals for the last like 2 or 3 years, basically when like Burrow really stepped up. They were one of the highest rated teams that would pass on first down. And the reason that is because Burrow knows, just like you said with Tom, he knows based on the scheme that they're running that he is going to have somebody open shallow.
Yep.
Because really the whole problem with a guy like Levis is you get stuck in these second and longs. You get stuck in these third and longs. Granted, we have penalties on the offense too, so we're even further back. So now you're having a guy that's not that great mentally having to sit there and try to convert a 3rd and 17, a 2nd and 17, you know, and it's obvious pass situations, and the defense knows that too. With a guy like Levis, you know he's going to make a mistake compared to, you know, staying ahead of staying ahead of the stick, staying ahead of the program. You're first down. You want to get 2nd and medium, 2nd and short, right? And it's easier that way. And one thing I want to round it back into, I know we kind of just went on a quarterback tangent, but with Mark,
I like it, though. I like it.
for sure. I mean, it shows how important it is. I mean, you can literally sit there. For instance, we just saw the AFC, championship game with the Bills and the Chiefs, and I mean, to me, that game literally just came down to the first drive of each team. I mean, Josh Allen came out and was slow in the beginning. I mean, he was making some of these throws. He was making, honestly, look like a Will Levis throw. Like, it didn't make sense. He's throwing into double coverage. He's throwing cross body, trying to throw it 50-something plus yards cross body across the field. Like, it just didn't make sense. And I think, especially here being the AFC, man, can you imagine us being in the NFC, man? I mean, I hate that we're in the AFC with everybody we got to go through.
Everybody hates being in the AFC.
I think Dan Orlovsky tweeted it out the other day, or somebody did. He said, it's insane to think about how many quarterbacks that we currently have in the AFC that are probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, but they're never going to win anything.
It's literally Michael Jordan blocking everyone from making the championship. That's literally what you're literally watching Mahomes be Michael Jordan of this era and blocking every one of these AFC quarterbacks from making it.
And mind you,
It's
Michael
crazy.
Jordan never won 4 in a row.
No, yeah, he did not.
But we're fixing to see in football potentially 3.
Which is crazy. That's never been done before, mind you.
Potentially 3. And Patrick Mahomes, he's not 30 yet.
No, he's like 28.
He's 29 years old.
29, that's crazy.
Like,
This guy is not going away.
No.
Yeah, but
Yet.
basically what my point was I was trying to get back to was Borgonzi said it. I think it was either Borgonzi or Brinker, one of the two. They probably both said it, honestly, is that everybody gets caught up right now with us having the number 1 pick, and I mean, rightfully so. But one thing that they highlighted was that, with us having the number 1 pick, what that allows us to do is that we're picking at the top of every round because we have that number 1 pick.
Ish.
And that is huge.
Yeah, that is huge.
So, and that gives you, like, right now, one of my main things for the draft, and, we can talk about this all the time, who we want to take, what we want to do with it.
Oh, we're going to talk a lot about it.
It changed to me, dude. It's hard right now because it changes every single day I think about it. I change what I want to do with it.
Well, let me stop you right there before you get going.
Before we get to the draft.
This is, what are you going to say?
I was just going to make one more comment because I like what Drew said earlier about, like, the underneath stuff, and you mentioned something about dink and dunks, and stuff like that. Will Levis's main problem, and I've said it in a couple other episodes, and if you watch the Chiefs and how they play, and you watch the Bills and how they play, and the Bills are a little bit different, but what you're seeing is you do see dinks and dunks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because, again, you have to take what the defense gives you.
Yep.
If they're running a prevent defense, you can't throw the deep ball. And that was Will Levis's problem. And that is what players like Pat Mahomes.
Because that's the only thing that he excelled
Because that's
at.
the only thing that he
NFL,
excelled in.
It's chess, not checkers.
It's chess, not checkers. Look at the Chiefs against the Bills. The Bills were dying by trying to prevent Mahomes from escaping the pocket, focusing on Travis Kelce over the middle. But guess what they weren't doing? They refused to cover the running back. And guess what? Guess
Kareem
what Mahomes
Hunt
did?
ran all over him.
Guess what Mahomes did? Look at Pacheco and Hunt, and they caught like so many passes
Dude,
out the
you
backfield.
know who would have loved to
and we're
be on the
getting
Chiefs
10
right now?
plus yards.
You would know who would love to be on the Chiefs right now.
Deion Lewis,
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas,
Slant boy himself,
Slant
because
boy.
that's all they were running. RPO slant. That's all the Chiefs were running.
But it's because that's what the defense is. If the defense is giving it to you, you take it.
Oh, for sure.
If you get 6+ yards of play, you're moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Like,
you're gonna get those plays, those big plays that you want later.
yep. You have to make them respect it.
Get the sustained drives.
Yep.
You know, this game is all about momentum, and if you're getting off the field 3 and out every freaking time because you want to throw it down the field all the time, or because we got to run Tony Pollard, it's first down, he only got 2 yards, so now we're screwed. You know, like it's just the way that it is. But I want to take this and segue because we'll start it off with Drew. But one of the kind of the last things I wanted to hit on, because obviously this is going to change. It's gonna be ever changing until the end of April when the draft actually rolls around. But obviously, all the talk is about, all these players that are being looked at the Senior Bowl, and all these top draft picks because the Titans are on the clock, and apparently he's already received calls about this pick. And
Well, also, yeah. To clarify that though, super smart thing to say on your introductory press conference.
Yeah,
Because we can right now. Like, I mean, obviously, I don't doubt them. We probably have definitely. And it's not just, hey, we'll give you this and this right now. You trade us that pick today. It's, hey, what are you thinking? What are you possibly going to want?
they know each other. These guys know each other. They're talking.
it's all business. But this is such a smart move by Borgonzi.
Yeah,
Because even if, say right now, we know we are picking this guy right now until something
they
changes.
don't know that.
They have no idea.
The other teams don't know that. So we can sit there, and even if there's a possibility, we've received 0 phone calls about this pick. But now that Borgonzi has come out and said, yeah, we've already fielded calls about the pick, say somebody like the Giants or somebody
They're like, oh crap, we got to get on it.
whoever you might say, the Raiders,
Browns,
somebody that are pretty far behind us that won a quarterback.
Heck, the Cowboys maybe at this point.
Yeah, so they're sitting there. They were probably thinking, oh yeah, we could probably have this trade package. They'll probably take this. But now they're hearing that other teams, there's competition. Now that price just went up.
Yep.
So I think he's already working, dude. I'm loving it. And yeah, I think that was just a very smart thing to come out and just go ahead and hit on a national press conference.
Not just that. Not just that. I agree with exactly what you said. But hit us with the quote. What was his quote that he gave from that press conference? The most important quote that he gave.
Yeah, this is what we have to
Let's
hit.
hear it. Let's hear it.
He says we're not going to pass up on a generational talent.
We are not going to pass up on a generational freaking talent. Everything that Drew just said, and then exactly what Borgonzi said in that press conference. If a team is going to field you a call, they are going to have to give you a haul, right? Call U-Haul.
King's ransom.
Biggest truck they got, because they're going to have to send it down to Nashville if you were going to trade back. Which leads us into the segue perfectly, us three here saying exactly right now, and this is going to change every week, every month, until the draft happens, because everything, we're going to see the Pro Bowl, we're going to see, or not Pro Bowl, we're going to see the Senior Bowl, and we're going to see the Combine and stuff, and everything's going to wishy-washy for the next couple months. But right here, right now, first time prediction or projection that we want. Let's hear what each one of us wants the team to do with that first overall pick, because it is such a big freaking topic, and it is the topic of the year for the Titans. What do we do?
It's so hard to tell right now. I know, for me personally, what I'm going to say is what I want, because I will die on this hill.
I'd hope so.
Well, I say that because obviously I think there are more logical things, maybe. But maybe not, because what you are ultimately going to need is a game changer at the quarterback position. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of being this team that we cross our fingers and we hope we have a player like Derrick Henry, who we no longer have, that can carry us to the playoffs with a mediocre quarterback. We cannot do it. I mean, we just sat here and named off. I mean,
the best quarterbacks.
Lamar
in the league.
freaking Jackson wasn't even the championship game. He's a freaking video game in real life. Like, he's won 2 MVPs. Josh Allen, has he won MVP yet?
No,
He should have.
Lamar won it last
Which is
year.
He's
wild.
probably going to
He's
win it
probably
this
going to win
year.
it this year.
Joe
Yeah,
Burrow should win it this year, but because they're bad, he's not going to.
He's already won one, I think. No, he didn't actually.
Well, he's been to a Super Bowl, though.
Yeah, he has
Josh
been to a
Allen's
Super
going to win this MVP.
Josh Allen should.
he should.
He should.
He
But guess
deserves
what? Guess freaking what? He can't get over Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he can't
He
beat
can't.
his dad.
He's
He
mental,
can't beat
bro.
his dad,
He's mental.
Bro, it's
He's
Ezel
mental.
Harding and Knox Webb.
He's got a mental block. That's what it is.
He cannot do it, and I don't want to say that because he's been right there
Yeah,
every
playoff.
single time. Look, I don't want to be that guy. Like Dalton Kincaid is a great player. That was a ridiculous play for them to even have a chance, and,
Yeah, it
and he
was.
dropped it. I mean, it is what it is. But here's the deal: they maybe get a field goal and tie it, and guess what? Mahomes probably still wins that freaking game.
Oh, he definitely wins
Like-
that game. You're going to give the best quarterback in
I
the
think
league.
here's the
And
thing.
here, name me one quarterback aside from Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow beat Mahomes in one of those games. Name me
he's
the
the
other
only-
quarterback that beat Patrick Mahomes.
He's the only one.
No, he's not.
In the
The other
playoffs?
one's Tom freaking Brady.
Oh, I thought. Okay, yeah, I thought you were talking about active quarterbacks, but yes, Tom Brady, yeah, for sure.
Here's the
that's
thing too.
that's to even further the point. But
I also think the
let me finish
Bills-
before we
okay.
move on to that, because with my point, and honestly, they're gonna laugh because I go back and forth on this almost freaking daily.
Every freaking
Today, I'm Cam Ward,
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I hear you.
so that's where I'm at. It may not be logical in terms of we traded back, we get all. We have to have the guy at quarterback.
For my input with the Bills and Chiefs game, I think yes, Josh Allen can't beat Josh Allen cannot beat the Chiefs, but I also think that every single time I think these teams come together in the AFC Championship game, it's like I mentioned before. I just think they get outcoached. I do. I mean, we were talking about it during the game while we were watching.
Yeah, I mean,
The
where was
amount-
the Bills' defense?
The amount, not even that, bro. The amount of times everybody knows Josh Allen is going to try to run the football. They were game planning for Josh Allen to run the football. So what's happening? They weren't game planning for James Cook to have an absolutely phenomenal game. And so what do you do on the one you were down? What was it? 3 points, 2 points, something like that.
Yeah, 32.
On the last drive. I mean, you were down that, and the first play that you run is a halfback. Not necessarily a toss, but just a handoff to the right. And they lost 2 yards out of it because, I mean, the Chiefs just predicted it.
And then they immediately gave up.
But not the thing. You don't even have your best player during that game,
Yeah.
James Cook, who has been running all over the Chiefs all game.
Almost 8 yards a carry.
In the game. He wasn't even in.
I don't think he got a carry the whole last 8 minutes of the game,
He
which was
didn't.
crazy.
That's I just don't understand. Like it's anyway. Back to draft talk. For me, like I said earlier, it's changed every single day that I've thought about
Every day.
it. And it, like Kill said, it probably will. I mean, we'll hear everything come out. To me, right now, I think everybody's kind of blowing this Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl stuff out of the water for quarterback specifically, because these guys aren't even touching the field. This is just pre-talks before combine and pro days.
I don't even think Cam is there.
No, he's not.
No, neither is Shador. They're
No,
not
Shador's
doing
there. He's
was-
just
he was
he's there.
there.
He's just not
it.
practicing.
He's just not
Well,
doing
today-
Yeah, he's
this
there,
week-
but he's not doing
which is really good because we had each team gets a 30-minute slot
Yeah.
to talk to these players, and the Bears were there in our grouping. It was us, the Bears, the Seahawks, and somebody else. And the Bears obviously aren't taking quarterback because they just drafted Caleb, so they didn't even talk to Shador. So we got their 30-minute slot. So it turned into an hour-long conversation for us.
And apparently
That's
went
good.
very well.
Yeah, I mean,
They're gonna say that.
Not
That's the
to say
thing, bro.
that
Like they're gonna
yeah.
say that. They're not gonna come out and say, "Yeah, we didn't really like him." Like that's not gonna do anything for us. Because what if we sit there like, "Oh yeah, we're thinking Shador, but the Giants want to take Shador and they want to move up a slot." Then if we say we don't really like
Oh,
him and stuff like that, we
As
can't
much as it is
garbage.
trying to figure out who you want to pick, it's also playing mind games with these other teams
Yes.
to see what you
Yes.
can get.
Anyways, for me, I've been thinking generational talent. Travis Hunter doesn't really make sense in my opinion. We don't really
Not for us.
need a corner if he was going to
And
play defensive
I'm not
back.
saying he's not generational.
No,
he is
he's great.
generational. He is
He's
generational.
great, but I don't think we need corner.
Yeah.
Grant, say what you want about Snead not playing last year. I think that was kind of just like a weird
Precautionary.
weird injury that just kind of got.
Yeah, I mean, we were not
weirder.
making the playoffs, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, I just think
he
it was.
could have came
I think it was
back.
just a weird injury that just turned out getting weirder. But so hopefully he's back and healthy, and then if he is, I mean, it's L'Jarius freaking Sneed. I mean, two-time Super Bowl champ, All-Pro corner. I mean, he's going to be that guy.
You still got Awuzie and McCreary.
My thing with Awuzie is
that's a four stack.
I feel like Awuzie, he was injured for most of the year, but even when he came back those last like 5-6 games, granted he didn't play all year, so he might have been a little rusty, but that dude was getting toast whenever he was in. But then again, he didn't play, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. And then obviously we have McCreary, who we can extend this upcoming year, I believe, for his option. And then obviously Jarvis Brindley Jr. was a steal of the draft. We've mentioned it how many times. So I don't think we're gonna go Travis Hunter at corner. Then again, I don't think we go Travis Hunter for receiver either, just because of other needs that we have. Obviously, the quarterback being one of them.
Well, also I'm gonna say it. Travis Hunter, like he's good at receiver.
He's not generational.
Like, he's not great. Like he's a better corner than he is receiver. So like, if I'm a team that's looking at him, I'm drafting him to play corner primarily and to get some snaps at receiver. Yeah. Like for us, we don't need that. We don't need that.
And then we have Abdul Carter, who originally I was very fine with trading that pick back a couple slots and then picking him up, because I think he is from what we saw a generational talent. I mean, sorry, Kel, for being a Notre Dame. I mean, y'all won,
we
but
won. You don't have to apologize.
But I mean, brother,
he torched us with one arm.
But brother had one arm and he torched y'all's offensive line. So
he's torched every line.
He's a Micah Parsons, type player. And here's my thing with it: I would love having him, but at the same time, we can be like the Steelers are right now, where we draft him basically how they drafted T.J. Watt. Where he develops as a star player, they extend him, pay him all this money. They haven't even won a playoff game since they've drafted him, because they just have missing pieces elsewhere. And would having Abdul Carter, Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, Devondre Sweat defensive line be amazing? Yeah, but then again, it's like we just have too many holes. So right now, as of today, I'm kind of backing Kel. I think Ward, to me right now, based off of Callahan's comments of what he's looking for in a quarterback, on what is your reaction when the play breaks down? What does your nervous system look like? What are your stress responses? I think we're looking for a guy that is obviously good with arm talent, obviously good with decision making, but also has enough mobility to where you are able to extend plays and make something out of nothing. Yep. And that is it's like Roller said, that we basically want everything that Will Levis is not. Mm-hmm. And I think Shedeur also, to me, honestly, I think Shedeur might have a little more arm talent than Cam, but not crazy, in my opinion. The deep ball. That's what I'm talking about, the deep ball.
Cam Ward has the best deep ball in the whole country.
No, that's DJ Lagway. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think, I mean, I wouldn't mind Shedeur either. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind if we go Shedeur. I'm fine with that too. I just think with Cam, I think you get a guy that, it's like they say, that wants to play football more than Shedeur. I hate to say it that because of upbringing and dad. I'm not saying he's going to bring any of that, but I'm just going to say it's like Roller said. I think Shedeur, he brings off one of the most cocky.
It is
personalities
cocky.
That I've seen in a while.
Yeah, it's cocky.
Yeah, and Cam Ward, I've seen them interact, and Cam Ward has a confidence, but Shedeur almost has this attitude of like
that he knows he should be there.
Yeah, and it's like,
but Cam Ward's proven there
yet. Yeah, and
like anyways,
Shedeur, I'm like, you're not.
Back to what I'm saying. Give me.
Yeah.
Give me. Cam Ward.
Dude, I was just thinking that. I was like. See, this is tough, man, because, this is why I'm glad Borgonzi made that statement, because it's going to make – if we're sitting here thinking this as fans, imagine what the other teams are thinking. What the crap are these dudes doing? What are they thinking? Who are they going to – at generational talent, is that Travis Hunter? Is that Abdul Carter? Because if you're talking generational talent,
I'll tell you this.
Those are the two generational talent players.
The betting odds, whenever he came out and said that,
Travis Hunter
skyrocketed.
Yeah. Well, if you're talking generational talent, it's those two guys. So, again, do you take that as smoke, or do you take that as them being, legit, just hiding it?
Here's the other thing. To me, generational means they're going to have an impact on the entire game. You cannot throw it, even when we had AJ, and as much as I'd love to, you can't throw it to AJ Brown every single play.
No.
that doesn't mean generational to me.
Because if we go
Generational is Patrick Mahomes.
because this is where I'll bring this up before Roller. Actually, no, Roller, give us your take, and then I'll bring my point up.
I think if I'm looking from a play, so here's what I think. I think futuristically and logically, and when I look into the future, and when I look into next year's draft, because here's the problem: the people that are saying that Cam Ward and Shador, they're not first round talent. Okay, well, let's look at next year's draft. Okay, let's look at the quarterbacks that are going to headline coming out. Carson Beck. No, thank you. Quinn Ewers is coming this year, so whatever. Arch Manning, who hasn't touched a freaking game yet, basically. He's unproven.
Who isn't even confirmed to come to the draft.
Who isn't even confirmed to come next year. Okay, well, let's look at Nico Iamaleava, if he even comes next year.
No thanks.
He did, yeah.
In the same boat.
As of right now, unproven, right? I mean, he had a pretty good year, but again, he didn't look. Like
I think he personally needs to stay a year just because he redshirted that freshman year.
Yeah, he didn't look like a first round pick this past season. But let's look at all the other teams. Ohio State don't got nobody coming out. Notre Dame don't got nobody coming out. Michigan, no. LSU, no thank you. No other team is having a good quarterback coming out this year or next year. So,
and even if Arch does go off,
even if Arch goes off, we're not going to be the one pick.
Exactly. What are the odds we're getting that?
He will make more money if he stays another year for NIL than what he'll make on.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it doesn't even matter. Like,
Yeah.
let's say Bro goes off, wins Heisman, wins a Natty, whatever you want to say, and it's going to go. We're not going to have the first overall 2 years in a row.
We're hoping.
That's rare.
We better not. We better not.
I mean,
have the first
I'm
overall.
saying that, but just based on probability, that's not going to happen. Likely.
Yeah, but that is what we're thinking. We're banking on us not having the first overall pick again next year, and so when you're sitting here from a logical standpoint, and you're looking at the quarterbacks next year, and you're not seeing anybody that's really flashing off the charts that's like, we need that guy. You look at it this year, and as good as Abdul Carter would look next to Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons, and goodness gracious, good luck to any offensive line that has to block them, from a logical standpoint, and listening to how bad Callahan just seems like he despises Levis nowadays, there is no way that we do not go either Mr. AP in the first round or whatever you want to call that, Cam Ward. Somebody's getting drafted with that first overall pick, and it's one of the quarterbacks, and it's whoever this GM and his new staff like the most. So we're either getting prime time's either coming to Nashville to that new stadium, or we're getting Cam Ward. So,
and let me remind everybody too, like everybody listening and us, we forget when Callahan came in last year for his first year, and people asked about what he wanted in the draft. First of all, we don't know how much control he had over the picks. Obviously, there was some input, but he said that he would typically be more apt to picking people who are going to put points on the board.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the NFL these days. You have to outscore. You have to put up points.
Like I'm all for making our defense great. I don't think our defense was the problem last year.
No, not a chance.
Yeah, they struggled at times, and there was injuries, and there was all this kind of stuff. But in the beginning of the year, we were the number one defense in the NFL. We just sucked on the other side of the ball.
Take that with an asterisk because
okay, sure, but
we were the number one defense because we didn't have to give up a lot of yards because they were starting on their own 40-yard line.
Yeah,
because of our special teams.
The defense got
special
some help
teams
from our
offense. Offense.
So
I forgot to make my biggest point. Let me backtrack a second. My biggest point that I'm going to make, and it kind of backtracks a little bit towards the beginning of the episode when we were talking about Callahan and Amy Adams. Amy Adams is just proving year in and year out that she can be a little irrational and very emotional when she makes decisions. If you're Coach Callahan here, you're in a make or break year. You don't do good again, you're gone.
mm-hmm.
You don't do good again, you're fired. You're on the hot seat already before the season starts. Are you really going to put your job on the line and your job in the hands of Mayo Man Levis, who sucked all year last year? Do you really put your job in the worst quarterback statistically from last season? Because that's what he's going to do if you do not go quarterback. Because what, you're going to overpay for Sam Darnold? We're not.
Let me just say, my game days were not delicious.
No, they were not. No. And I drank no coffee with no mayo all year. In fact, I want to burn all the mayonnaise in Nashville.
I'm so tired of seeing our starting quarterback doing the splits on some mayonnaise jars. Like, freaking give me somebody here that's going to win us some games.
Yep.
So, rounding out that roller, I want to bring up two things before I ask one more, and it could be our final question, if we want to go further. My thing with Travis Hunter. Would I mind taking Travis Hunter? No. But then again, here's my thing. If we take Travis Hunter, it's kind of what you've alluded to just then. Who do you have throwing the ball?
Exactly.
Right, because the free agents that are on the market are not that great.
They're not good at all.
Other than Sam Darnold rounding out the top, who's going to.
And in my opinion, you're gonna have to overpay for him anyway.
I mean, he's projected right now. I think I saw it where he's going to get at least $10 million a year.
And again, he's not that good, people. Like, he had a good year.
Great system.
But look at the people in that offense. I mean,
Yeah.
freaking Will Levis would have looked like Josh Allen in that offense with
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, and a top 5 offensive line. Like, yeah, okay, it's easy. I mean,
Yeah.
go do whatever. Just throw it up, Justin Jefferson somewhere.
My only other thing with that as well is if we do stick and pick, that means we still only have those 2 picks, the first round and the second round, in the top 100 because we do not have a third round pick currently.
Yeah, but you're taking the risk that one of those is a generational talent. That
Well, I mean,
turns
I
your
get that.
franchise around.
I get that. But with Chad Brinker's comments that in the next 3 drafts, he wants to have 30-something plus picks and 12 of them being top 100 picks, we don't have that right now. So where in the world are we going to get those 12
So
picks?
here's my only comment I'll make on that. And it's that if everybody is grading these quarterbacks around the same and there's really truly nobody that is looking at these quarterbacks as generational and worthy of that first pick, I can see a situation where we trade back and take the best player available, whether it's Kelvin Banks, Abdul Carter, whoever, and then in that second round pick, because we have it so early, right at the turn, could that be Jackson Dart? Could that be someone else that's maybe on the board? Maybe
If he slides down, could that be a Jack Sawyer?
yeah, could
Defensive
that
end
be,
from Ohio State.
You know, like could it be? Yeah, but there's many options, but it's just like, you know, like if you don't go quarterback in the first pick, I think if you're not going to get a free agent quarterback, you got to draft somebody.
Yeah.
So like if you trade back from the first and you get an extra second, or you add another third, or whatever the case may be, quarterback's got to be somewhere in one of those picks. So like whether it's Jackson Dart, Dylan Gabriel, somebody that's
God,
like,
no.
somebody that, well, probably not Dylan Gabriel, but like just somebody that like is good. I'm just saying somebody that looked good and that you have confidence in. Then you got to draft him. I mean, there's got to be a quarterback going into this room to give Levis some competition because he cannot be the guy.
Yeah,
He's not.
I agree with you.
It's going to be a lot of discussion, a lot of similar discussion to this. I think there will be quite a few fans that will continue to lean quarterback. I mean, right now, I've been on the quarterback train for a while because I just, to me, it's more about looking at the competition and the other quarterbacks in the AFC that we're in the AFC South alone. Well, I can't say that all the way because honestly, I'm not impressed with Richardson, and we know how we all feel about Trevor. So, but I mean, you're gonna have to be competing with CJ every year. Duval. So you're gonna have to be competing with CJ. I mean, who knows? Maybe Liam Weirdo Cohen's gonna turn around Trevor Lawrence's career, but
Good luck.
we're excited to keep this going. We're excited to be turning a page on just a horrendous season, and one that we had hopes for more with some of the talent that we do have on the team. But look, we got to start and continue to build.
Because I mean, that is truly the thing that's coming down to. Like you look at our team on paper, for the most part, and it is a
and
competitive.
You're like, how the crap did we only win 3 games?
And it literally is just because of the quarterback.
Yeah.
It's
Quarterback held us
It
back.
is 2 main things that happened this year. Quarterback play was horrible, and special teams play was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Right tackle.
And
was horrible.
people do not give enough credit to special teams. There's 3 phases in football: offense, defense, special teams, and special teams helps you win games.
Shout out Notre Dame.
So I think we fix that issue. Hopefully, Bones can come in here and turn us around.
I mean, real quick. I mean, special team. Look at the Chiefs Bills game.
Yeah.
That punt return, that 60-yard punt return,
Absolutely.
is a
From
huge
a guy
difference.
that just got signed
He
off
just
the
got on the
practice
team,
squad.
60-yard punt return, and they end up scoring on that drive. So like, it is a big factor. So
I mean that's pretty much all we wanted to cover tonight. I mean, obviously we're gonna keep diving into this draft talk, and things are gonna heat up a little bit. I think I can't remember exactly when free agency opens, but I know it's coming up here soon.
it's March, right? It's like It's
Yeah.
a month before the draft or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So you know what? I'm curious to see if any of the T. Higgins.
Because that's another thing, bro.
Rumors
Like
come to
right
life.
tackle, like we said, right tackle is an issue, man. So
Yeah.
with us only having the 2 picks in the top 100,
I wouldn't-
where do you get that tackle at?
And I wouldn't
Free
be
agency,
mad. I wouldn't
gotta
be
be.
mad at old Mike Borgonzi calling up his buddy Trey Smith. I mean, look, we're not necessarily in
Trey
dire
Smith,
need of a
please.
guard, but I'll take a right
I mean,
guard.
we are because Radens is gone.
Yeah, I mean,
Radens is out of here. He better be out of here. He played terrible.
But then you would
Again.
feel solid about 4 out of 5 of your O linemen, especially with Cushenberry coming back.
Yeah.
So
well, also you can get, if you get Trey Smith, because here's the thing: the person on the line can only play as good as the person next to him. So if you get an All-Pro right guard in Trey Smith, you can afford to take a little bit of a step back at right tackle, and like it has to still be somebody that's like got some skill, unlike NPF. But like it's gonna be
any of the
somebody.
people that we had on the right tackle. We used like 6 people that were right tackles on our roster. We used like all 6
and they
of
were
them,
all terrible.
and they were all horrible.
And did any of them get their hands on a defender?
Didn't feel like it.
I don't know.
Like
There's clips of MPF getting put on the ground on all fours by a defender, but I don't know if you count that touching one.
No, his hands hit the ground, not the player. So
MPF's going to have a lot of fantasy expert
doing
stuff to come out with.
he
that
needs to
is
go back.
involved in.
He needs to go back to betting.
He was hitting that downward dog exercises on the field. Oh man!
Oh, well,
that
there
poor
you have
guy.
it. I mean, that's where we're at. We're hopefully going to continue to keep putting these out. Hopefully in person. We'll see what our schedules look like. But as always, it's tighten up, and we're going to continue to talk about the draft and hope that all of this with Borgonzi and the new people we're bringing in has us going in the right direction. I personally feel like it does.
I'm excited.
So, it's been a while since we've been excited, considering how bad the season was.
Yeah.
So I'm not ready to give up on Callahan.
I haven't been this
I'm
excited since week 1.
So now hopefully we're not saying the same thing
Before the game
The-
started. Actually, no, not even at halftime, because we were up like 17-0 at halftime.
yeah, we were. It looked good.
Golly.
I haven't been this excited since that Legarius trade went through.
Oh
do you
my
remember?
God.
Do you
We were
remember?
about
Do you
to
remember
flip
that
the
one
table.
time that we were up on the Bears? Or was it the Bears? Yeah, the Bears. And then Levis threw the game and,
do remember
and
that.
put it in their hands, and
And then we lost to the Jets, who ended up being a horrible team as well.
And then Levis
the
had
next
like
week.
weekly memes come out, and we were just a laughing stock of the NFL. So,
were.
I mean, I always say tighten up to end these things. It feels like there's some encouragement going forward. So, hopefully, we continue to keep these episodes positive, at least until we start losing again.
Yeah, and again, we know we've kind of been a little wishy-washy with the schedule,
Yeah.
but again, we're glad you tuned in. And if you did tune in, let us know down in the comments below who you want the Titans to pick with the first overall pick, or if you want them to trade back. Let us know the trade back scenario you want, who you want them to get. A lot of big decisions to make this offseason for the Titans. So if you think you have the answer, let us know.
But we're back on track, man. I'm back on the Titans train.
Yep, we're back. We're back, baby. We're back.
Keep it rolling.